p.m. at the Town of Sullivan, 7507 Lakeport Road, Topanga, New York, to consider the application of Abigail Campbell for property located at 1318 to 1320 East Hill Lane, Topanga, New York, SLB being 48.7-1-21, for a special use permit pursuant to the zoning schedule of the Town of Sullivan zoning law to allow 12 therapy chickens in a shed at their home on 1318 East Hill Lane. The above application is open to inspection at the Town Office Building, 7507 Lakeport Road, Topanga, New York, during regular business hours. Persons wishing to appear at such hearing may do so by person attorney or representative.
Okay, I presume that most of you are here for the hearing. The ground rules basically are that we'll give all the time necessary for people to speak their piece if they want. I will just try to encapsulate what the application is that in the Town of Sullivan, in residential properties, there are regulations for the keeping of non-domestic animals, cats, dogs, etc. So, in an MR12 zone, which you are, that requires a special use permit on the part of this board to allow that to happen. That's why you're here. And the applicant has about a dozen chickens, and they are housed on their property, and they are in an MR12. And I'm presumptuous here, but I assume you're all neighbors of some kind. So that's basically what we're talking about. As I say, we'll go through any comments that need to be, and we'll run as long as we have to. If there are people that, depending, if we make a decision tonight, this is a little hollow, but I'm saying to you, you could write something in, but that might be after the fact if we do take some kind of action tonight. But feel free, we don't bite. Please make your comments to the board. This is not a discussion piece with the public. Okay? The floor is open. Speak clearly, give your name, your address, so the secretary can record that, and we're good to go. The applicants can speak in their own behalf if they wish, or they can remain silent. That's their call. Anybody who wishes to speak?
Oh, okay, I'll go first.
Okay, sir.
My name is Todd Botsford, Todd, Botsford. And I live at 1280 Heathfield Lane. Is that what you need? Mm-hmm. Okay. Regarding the chickens, I have not had any problems with them. I live a little bit away from them, down the road, but I kind of like chickens. I'm in favor of them. I think they make the kids give the kids some responsibility taking after them. I don't think the chickens are doing any harm. They eat a lot of good insects, things like that. I understand that maybe we're not zoned for chickens, but a variance would be great in my opinion.
This is not a variance.
Well, whatever
No,
it is.
this is in part of the law.
Okay.
And it's something they are able to apply for,
Okay.
and this board, under certain conditions,
Yeah.
can grant that. That's
Okay.
what that is. But
But,
it is a legal activity.
That there was at least one rooster at one time, and I liked that only because it brings back good memories of my childhood type of thing with the rooster hearing it. But I can understand they make noise all times of the day, and I understand that they don't have any roosters anymore. So I don't think
that is a no-no under this.
And so I don't think there's any noise problem. But of course, I don't live right next to them. But I've had chickens, and, I'm in favor of it, and that's about all I can say.
Okay? Someone else?
Okay, these are just some pictures of our.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Oh, sorry. Melody Loveland, 1318 Kingswood Lane. I am the daughter of the applicant, and I'm one of the people that therapy chickens are for. And these are just pictures of the coop and their run and their enclosed area. If you'd like to look at those, they're all clearly marked and labeled.
Okay. Someone else wishes to speak? Tom?
Tom Clark, 1326 Eastfield. About 3 years ago in May, we had a free-ranging chickens next door. Rooster crowing from sunrise to sundown. At times, they would come into the garage, dig in our flowers, hop into our window wells. This is a medium residential area. Will this set a precedence for others? Last fall, neighbors on Ramsgate sold their ranch house for $250,000. Do you think that we can, in the future, in a few years, next door to us, be able to do the same? If someone needs animal therapy, why not an allergy-free dog, cat, guinea pig, etc.?
Okay. Did you folks just come in?
Yes.
Okay, we are in the process of having a hearing for some chickens in a housed in a MR12 zone up on Heathfield. If that's what you're interested in, I'll let you know that that's what we're doing. Okay. Yes. Looks-
Mary Lou David, 6719.
I thought that was a familiar face.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's me.
that's right.
I'm, obviously, the chickens aren't in my backyard, but obviously they're nearby. But I guess, they're therapy chickens, and I thought that's kind of an unusual thing. If you're having a therapy chicken, is there a time limit as to how long they would be there for the therapy? Because that's the reasoning.
I can answer, my answer would be, they're really just applying for the chickens, to have chickens, and whatever benefit they gather, eggs, meat, etc. The therapy part is something that is, we really can't deal with that part. But they're actually, on face value, it's just the chickens
So they
being
can be there
located.
forever?
No, that's right, there's no sunset on
Ah, okay. Well, that's my concern is to
it.
have,
Okay.
I'd like to see a sunset and something like that. And also thinking chickens,
They may editorialize a little bit. With time, the keeping of chickens may just end itself, that,
in other words, they'll die.
well,
They
they have a life, but they also, the people that do these things, after a while, it may not fit their lifestyle. Let's put it that.
So
Okay.
they can't add to it, is what you're saying.
But yeah, they can't increase it, no.
Those same 12 have to be the same 12. They can't change.
No,
them.
that's not.
No, not necessarily, you
Well,
have
that's
12.
what my questions are.
We don't go up and identify the chickens, so there's no.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, is this,
Pardon?
that's what I'm saying.
Now, they can have 12 they could have 12 chickens.
But they don't
Those
have-
12 chickens could
Not
change
those
up.
12 chickens.
I mean, I don't,
It runs with the land,
But,
especially
yeah.
if it runs with the land.
Right.
Okay.
Just
they
like a
went
variance
out,
would.
they went out and bought fertilized eggs, and for some reason, can't have a rooster. They went out and bought fertilized eggs, and they somehow could hatch, they still can have more, they can't have more than 12 chickens. Now,
They don't have to be those 12.
that's correct.
That's what
I don't know how else to put that.
Okay, well, that's why I'm saying,
Where did the rooster come from?
They can't, well, no, as I said, they gotta go out and buy fertilized eggs.
so they have to grow more. All right, and also, I would assume that this could attract predators, you know, it's all kind, meaning that, you know, like coyotes or whatever, I mean, there's things that come along, and a fox, there's been a fox sitting in the middle of a road, I'm sure before, I've seen, so, you know, they can attract that type of predator to come down and to attack them, obviously they're there, and it's more than somebody having a dog or a cat wandering the neighborhood, and we have that many chickens type deal. So I'm interested in hearing that they can't increase it. And I'm just not in favor of changing what it is so that we have a farming now, so.
Yes, son?
I have a letter from one of our neighbors here. Richard Ronalds was on 1302 Heathfield. His concerns are about the poultry odor, it also attracts foxes and coyotes. And he said, we are in the edge of a wooded area where foxes and coyotes. He's like, I can hear them a lot. And also in the area, we have families with small children, and he's concerned about also rabies.
Chickens don't carry rabies.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
okay, well, David, how are you?
Sir,
Yes,
Scott Rowland, 2 Brentwood Road.
I'm sorry, what?
Scott Rowland, Rohlin, 2 Brentwood Road. I've been on the property in question. I see where the chickens are housed. It's always maintained, it's clean, it's neat. The coop actually is towards the back of where the edge of the woods is. I've never seen the chickens ever venture off of the property. You would not even know you were there unless you actually were to walk towards the back of the property to see where they're situated. You cannot see them from the front of Heathfield Lane. You can't see them from the side unless you are venturing back into the properties, because there is I see an easement, there's a little gravel road where Clark's have their entrance to their garage and Campbell's have their entrance to theirs also. I've known the young lady who was in question in regards to the therapy chickens being therapy chickens for her. I know that she is a sweet, kind young lady. I have a feeling that someday she probably wanted to be taking care of animals, maybe a veterinarian. She does considerable volunteer work at Wanderers Rest. I also know that she's gone through some traumatic things in her life. I've known her since she was a baby, before she was born actually. She was abandoned by her father. Abby had to raise all 5 of her kids on her own. She also had to deal with the fact that she lost her father that abandoned her. She finds comfort in her animals. She's always found comfort. And she's wonderful with them. She loves them dearly. And these chickens, as we were talking about previously, the reason being therapy chickens, I have no doubt in my mind that that's the reason they're there. None whatsoever. This young lady, every time I'm over there, is doing something with animals. She takes care of those chickens. And I see in no way how they're intrusive upon anyone. Now, if they do wander over on Clark's property, I'm very sorry because I haven't viewed that, and I don't doubt their word at all. But I do want to say that I know the petition is for therapy chickens, and I truly believe in my heart that it is the purpose of them being there.
I would just briefly interject too that, oh, sorry, Abby Campbell, 1318 Heathfield. We got the chickens initially the day that her brother, who'd been a surrogate father to her, left for Florida. We wagged the dog, so to speak, distracted everybody, and something we thought would be good for her, and it turned out very, very well. But as anybody who's kept chickens might know, especially as novice chicken owners ourselves, it took us a while to figure out how to keep them confined. Once we realized as they got a little older, they used to stay on the property when they were young, but as they got a little older, they did start to venture, and we started to try our hand at getting them contained. they've been contained and have not free ranged for quite some time now. So I think that the concerns that Mr. Clark has raised about them being in his yard were quite some time ago. If not, I would really be glad to know if we've got some escape artists and happily tend to that. As you can see from the pictures, they're extremely well contained, little prisoners. And we don't want them, I don't want them digging in my mulch, let alone anyone else's.
Jeff?
Yeah, well, I'm Jeff Taylor, in Boston. I'm a little late for the later meeting, but I think people need to remember that it's the town of Sullivan, we're a country community. The fact that we have to debate about having chickens and that, and now with the youth and their lack of connection to different things, something like raising chickens is a great life lesson that they can learn how to take care of animals and actually be motivated to do things. And I mean, I understand not letting giant poultry farms open up, but I think anyone that wants to responsibly have chickens in the town of Sullivan, I mean, we have deep farming roots in our community. I hate to see it get to the point where you can't like let your kids go pick chicks out at Tractor Supply and raise them and have them. And I think it's valuable for teaching life lessons and the responsibility of taking care of them. As far as predators, I mean, that's I find it not a real argument because predators are there, whether there's chickens or not, they're looking for food. I mean, chickens in a house are not gonna draw predators from all over the place. Cats and dogs are out to a coyote, a cat or a dog, chicken. I mean, chicken might be a little easier to prey, but I don't think chickens are gonna be a magnet for predators by any means. So, that's just.
Thank you.
I'm Kurt Campbell, 1318 Eastfield. Just so you know, before we got the chickens, we did call this town of Sullivan. And they basically said, don't ask, don't tell. You wanna get them, get them. So we did. We did ask first. We just didn't go and do it to be unlawful. We checked into it. So when we went to Tractor Supply to get the chickens, we specifically wanted pullets, which are the girl chickens, because we didn't want to have loud roosters. But unfortunately, when you go and get these baby birds, a couple slip through the cracks and they're not pullets, but they're roosters. So,
That's right.
you know, we didn't know. And like Abby said, it's a work in progress. I mean, I grew up in the country, but I never had chickens. So when Melody and Abby said, you know, what do you think about getting chickens? I was like, give me a second to think about it, you know, because I didn't know. And I thought we were out enough in the country that it wouldn't really matter. Most of our property is woods. So.
Can I ask one question? On your site plan, along Brentwood, your house is on the corner of Heathfield and that Brentwood.
Right.
But whether Brentwood really exists or not, I'm not sure.
It's a private drive.
Huh?
It's a private
Yeah,
driveway.
yeah, but there's a structure there to the rear, where are we going? To the west, south?
Did you look at the
south?
picture?
Yeah, what?
The garage?
Is that a dwelling or is that?
No, that's a 3-car garage. And then the fence. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
Where's Joyce's house?
So as you're looking through, that's the picture you're looking at, right? Is the garage
Well, I'm
and the
looking at
fence?
the tax map.
Can I come up?
Yeah. Probably wait there. What is that?
That's a garage.
Okay. And this is all yours, but there's no other resident,
There's
Yeah.
what's here?
There's a double wide.
Okay, that's what I thought. They're actually closer to the chicken house than you are,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Right? Okay, where is their property line?
They're on our property.
We own all
It's
of
part
it.
of our property.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Now I was trying to figure out where the acre, what you got, an acre and a third or something like that? Acre and a half?
Yeah, acre to third, I think.
Acre and a third, okay. It's, okay. Anyone else here comment in the hearing? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to mention I'm sorry, Suzanne, Suzanne Rowland, to Brentwood Road. So I just wanna mention to the predators, many years ago, when I had to be at work at 4 a.m., I would turn down Route 5 and I would see a fox cross the road, and that was way before they had chickens. I would also like to say in recent years, because of everything that's going on, I am a nurse, I'm an infection control nurse, there's a lot going on. So in the warmer weather, I get up early in the morning and go for walks. I have never encountered any predators on my morning walks. And I do, sometimes it's a little dark out when I'm out there walking around, and sometimes it's pre-dawn. So I just wanna mention that. Also, chickens eat ticks, and there is a lot of ticks, especially with the warmer winters. So I don't have a problem with the chickens. I don't think they attract anything other than the cats or the bunny rabbits that are running around the neighborhood.
Which are actually more intrusive than chickens, because the neighbors' cats are always all over and visiting us. We know them on a first name basis, so. I know the cats in the neighborhood far better than I know the chickens.
So I'm gonna continue saying too about this therapy thing. They are pets. We just don't leave them up in the shed to be cold and hot. We do pet them. We do set them on our laps. They have names. And they're kind and gentle and quiet egg-laying birds that are on our property and protected and are not out running around. In all the years I've lived on this property, I've never seen one fox, and any coyotes I hear are late at night up in the woods, way away from the house. And they are already in bed on their roost when this is happening. So that's a no-go there. That's not happening.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Reed McBratney, 6733 Ramsgate.
I'm sorry, what was the first name?
Reed
And the last name?
McBratney, McBratney.
Thank you.
I'm son-in-law to her dad here. I helped them secure the coop because we were also concerned about predators and we did not want to trap them. We, for one, didn't want to leave chickens. I was born and raised in backwoods, so I raised chickens myself, and I helped them cordon off the interior of the shed and prep that so it would be more secure, as well as fence off an area outside of their yard, because as Abby pointed out, she doesn't want them in her flower beds either. They are horrible creatures when they get in your flower beds. One kick and there goes your petunia, you know. So I quite understand Mrs. Clark's concern, because it is a terrible thing. As Abby said, they are escaped artists, so it'd take quite a while, probably a good, what you'd say, 2 months of that summer till we got them all secured in that house. So I definitely hear what the Clarks are saying, but at this point in time, we have not had an escape here for a while, and as Mr. Roland said, I walk my dogs in the morning, and I don't see predators when I walk Heathfield, Ramsgate, and I don't come across foxes or anything like that. So, and also as she pointed out, cats would be just as much of a target with them roaming free, whereas the chickens are contained. So,
Okay, thank you. Like to kind of come to closure here. Is there anyone that hasn't had the opportunity that wishes to speak? I'll say you've been a very, very polite hearing. We appreciate that very much. We done? Going once? Okay. Board, I would entertain a motion to close this hearing.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to close this hearing. Any discussion concerning that? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Hearing is closed. The regular meeting for the Town of Sullivan Planning Board for the month of March 2023 will commence. And my paper shuffling here, I've lost my agenda. There we go. The agenda that we have this evening in front of us is the hearing, and we hear those people first. And the Then we have a Lori Bar, is Lori Bar, okay, Lori, yep, we got you on, for, improvements to your residence in the business zone. And Mr. Schenkenberger, okay, and you're down looking for a second dwelling on your property, okay? That's all we really have on your agenda. Jeff, you're here, you're not really on the agenda, but we'll give you a couple minutes when we get done here. Okay, I don't know why you're here.
I talked to Larry and.
Yeah, but the agendas are done, late last week. So that's why I'm saying, we didn't know that. Okay, so we'll talk about whatever it has, we can help you out there, okay? Is there anyone else here that's, would like to get in front of us? Okay, good. All right, the minutes for the February meeting have been circulated. Is there, I entertain a motion for any additions or corrections?
Make the motion to approve.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Well, you're about as in front as you're gonna get, I guess. Okay. Board, you got questions here? Okay.
And you do have like a perimeter fence around the penthouse?
Yeah, they got what you basically, the stipulations of that domestic chicken in residential area is pretty much you've got to keep them contained on your property. You have to make sure that there is no odor, no pile, no manure. You just can't clean the chicken house and dump it out behind somebody's backyard. If you got a garden, okay, you can use that as fertilizer. That's not a problem.
Did you see the little slings that hang off the coop? Those are feed bags.
Yeah.
And that's what we use to collect their excrement, and then we just cut them down, take them out, put them in the garden.
Okay, that'll work. You're getting a lot of nitrogen that way.
Absolutely.
Okay. Organic farmers love chicken manure.
So do the strawberries.
Yeah, okay. All right, so those are your basic constraints of that. As asked, there really is no sunset on it. It stays with the property. Just so other people understand that if they got a special use permit for this and they decided to sell the property, the next person in has got the right to do the exact same thing, according to the conditions of that law. Okay, it goes with the property. It doesn't go with them. Okay. Again, I think, practically, maybe down the road, they won't be an attractive venture for you folks, and that will maybe disappear. But there again, we can't make any judgment on any of that. Okay? Am I remiss in anything else that we, okay? What, we need to do a seeker?
Yep.
Go right ahead.
So this is a special use permit. You are the lead agency for this request. This is an unlisted action, meaning it gets a lesser level of environmental review. And we will answer the following questions regarding the potential impacts. Will this proposed action create material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? Probably no, because it's an allowed use subject to special use permit. Are you okay with the no on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Will the proposed use result in a change in the use or intensity of use of the land? Will you decide that to be a small or small, given the size and the fencing, etc. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
And the next one is a critical environmental area. They're not in one. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? Proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities. Will the proposed action impact public or private water supplies? No. Public or private wastewater facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of an important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resource?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to any natural resources? Will the proposed action result in an increase for erosion, flooding, or drainage?
No.
Will the proposed action create hazards to environmental resources or human health? And I'm gonna go ahead and check the box for a negative declaration. What I would ask you to do right now is to further consider the application, and when we come to a vote, if we come to a vote on tonight, we'll incorporate a negative declaration as supported by the answer to these questions. Is that all right?
Fine.
And the only other thing I'm gonna remind you is that this is a special use permit, and the board is to consider the following aspects of the use as per our special use permit regulations under section 275-9. And the board would consider the following: the location, size of the use and structures, the nature, intensity of the operations involved, the size of the site in relation to it, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to it. That's probably not relevant. And that it'll be in harmony with the orderly development of the district. That's one consideration. Two, the location, nature, and height of any buildings, walls, or fences, and they are proposing fences in a coop, will not discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land or buildings or impair their value. Three, operations of conditional use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties than will the operation of any permitted standard use. That's the third criteria. Four, adequate combination of public and private parking is provided, and they address the parking in their application. So those are the four things you have to keep in mind when you issue a special use permit, and that would fold into this. And then I would also say, the last time we approved one of these, we had a number of conditions. And that was to cap the number of chickens as to that which was requested, which based upon the square footage of the lot seems to allow for up to 12 chickens. I think I checked the math on that correctly. That the fencing and the coop would have to be maintained properly, and that there would be, they would address the removal of the chicken manure. And in the past, what we have said is that it would be done, the last one we did, we said from April 1st through November 30th, the applicant would address yard waste by moving, well, in that case, they moved the coop. This is not a mobile coop, right?
No.
Okay, so we wouldn't deal with that. But they would remove the manure 2 times per week so it doesn't get so bad that it would cause bad aromas next door.
How many square foot, how many square footage, or what's square footage of the coop itself? That's where the chickens are, where the chickens have daily access, where they're
17 by 6? I would say 17 by 6 feet.
17 by 6?
Yeah.
Okay, you're making me do the math? Okay, somewhere around 100, a little over 100 square feet. 6 by 20 would be 120.
Frank, the other standard condition would be is to say out loud, no roosters.
Yeah.
Which is our law, but you might as well.
Right, yeah, no, there's absolutely no, there's no.
We don't want that.
Yeah, well, it's worth saying out loud, that's all. Okay.
If for some reason you should try to generate, I mean, again, I've had chickens in the past, but I never kept any roosters around. The, and I don't know whether a chicken would actually take a nest on fertilized eggs if they weren't her hatchings. I'm not sure about that.
It's 102 square feet, by the way.
Pardon?
It's 102 square feet.
Okay.
If you want, I can measure it and get back to you.
No, this is good. It gives you an idea. You know, you're almost 10 foot per chicken per bird. You're in that ballpark. Okay. You couldn't change the layout. You couldn't decide to move the coop, so where that could possibly be more, raise more questions than where it is at this point. You couldn't change the exercise yard or whatever. I guess we could talk about screening, but there's where that is, there's nobody to screen but yourself, pretty much, right? All right, or someone that is now living on your property and that, to whoever the double lot, whatever that is. Okay? Do we have a motion, or we can discuss it?
I'll make a motion
To,
to discuss it.
well, okay, but you got it,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
To approve.
To approve or
Yeah.
to approve, okay.
Motion approved with the conditions, yeah. Yeah.
The second,
No, Sharon second.
second it? Okay, now is the discussion on it.
I'm in agreement with it. I think they've addressed my concerns with the, predators, potential predators and such, and the chickens are being contained. You're taking care of excrement, so, I mean, that seems to address the concerns of what was presented tonight.
Notice the count stays the same as it is now? Doesn't change, doesn't grow, doesn't get bigger?
And not to exceed, I have my notes were not to exceed the 12 chickens.
Mhm.
The manure management would be taken care of on a regular basis. No roosters. If they make a change to the layout, they have to come and get that approved.
Right.
And then the negative declaration would be baked into the whole thing.
Okay,
I approve.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Got your chickens, under all those conditions. You will get a notice of action, and it'll include all the things that we've stipulated here. And again, just be clear, I want everybody to understand, the neighbors too, that it does go with the land, that's what a special use permit does. And, once it's granted, it could be, anyway, we're not going down that road, okay? The number of chickens will be 12. And obviously chickens have a life, I'm not sure what the average lifespan of a chicken might be, but there again, if they evolved or they got other chickens, as long as they don't exceed the 12, they're good for that. Yes,
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
It goes with the land, it says that property only, it doesn't concern any other neighbor.
that's correct.
Any
No.
other neighbor has to come and go before you and ask for the same
If-
variance.
Well, okay, this is not a variance.
Right.
Variance is relief from the law.
Right.
There is law there.
Right.
If I understand what you're asking me, are you asking if a neighbor wanted to keep chickens?
What if I wanted to put it in my backyard? What
Yeah,
I'm
then
saying,
you come on,
I
make an
have to come
application
before
and
you and
make an
apply.
application and we'll discuss your situation.
Right, what I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. This
Everyone is
person,
site specific.
It's only that lot is the only.
That's
one.
correct. Only that
I wanna make
property
it clear in
as
my
is
head.
now defined.
It
Yep.
doesn't mean the whole, anything
Oh,
in
no.
the area. Your
No.
property only is about.
No.
Okay,
No,
gotcha. Wanna make sure that's what I'm understanding.
and again, that is, other people come in with different circumstance, they're gonna have 2 donkeys or something, that may not fly,
Right.
You want donkeys that are,
Make him stop.
How about some?
that are loud. You talk about roosters, a couple of donkeys in the morning, male donkeys, they'll be worse than a rooster you ever saw.
Met a few mean donkeys, man.
Okay, all right?
Does this go for anywhere in the town of Sullivan, if you especially use permit to get chickens?
No.
I missed that.
No.
Not a
The
farm.
only place
Farms,
it,
no.
only place it in, ag does not count, ag is off the limit. It's only people that are in, if you're in a residential zone, basically that's an LR40. And there's a scale of what you could have. In other words, you got an acre, we could go through and read. You might be able to have 1 horse, okay? You might be able to have 3 goats. It's all specified that way. You might be able to have 8 rabbits, whatever it happens to be. By right, as long as you stayed within that. But the law says there is no non-domestic animals in an MR12 zone. In the town of Sullivan, there's a really kind of a very limited area of MR12. Basically, it's north of Route 31 on the lake. It's between 31 and the lake. that whole area there is all MR12. The other one of any significance, and I'm not sure why the fathers did this, but we are only here to adjudicate the law, is that it does exist in your area, and then between basically Tuscarora and Kinderhook Road. That's about all it is. So if anybody in there wants to do what you're doing, then we go through that whole process. If they're a LR40, basically, Larry makes sure that they understand that this is what you can have, and as long as they stay within that.
Dog work. Dog work.
They do. Just so that people are probably familiar coming to a meeting here. The gentleman that's giving us the direction is the town attorney, and this is John Lange. Okay, he is our watchdog. He makes sure that we don't step off the cliff. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
If you unless you want to stay for whatever else is going on tonight, you're free to go about the world.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Do they got the photos?
Oh yeah. Do you want these photos? Or can we keep these photos in the file?
Yeah.
Do you want them back, or can we keep them in the file?
Do you wanna keep them in the file?
That'd be a good thing if you want. Okay.
Enjoy.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Like bananas.
Yeah, I knew I had Jerry, so. Okay.
Because from our neighbor, because he hears coyotes and stuff. He hears them, he lives just 2 doors from us, closer to the woods. So. Thanks, John.
Ms. Barr? She'll say Ms. Woodall.
It's okay.
Okay.
I knew it was me.
Okay. You, we've got actually, people are confused here. We've got 2 applications
Yeah.
with your name on them.
Yeah.
The one you appeared last month, you talked about fencing.
Right.
Is your intent to keep that application active?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have to close it. I just wanted to come some closure if we're not gonna pursue it.
We really never settled on anything.
Okay.
The thing was to find alternatives other than the fence, and we really.
Well, you can have we're not saying no, but not total ringing the property with an
So we're
8-foot fence.
we're talking about it because we have apple trees we planted, we have all sorts of fruit trees, we do a garden, but the deer are already going in the yard and eating them. So we want to put the stockade fence up top, and then we're looking for like the chain link or something through the woods to try to keep them.
Well, okay. You have to come up with a concrete proposal, okay? We're not gonna comment on anything unless we see something else. We're just gonna keep that open.
Yep.
Now,
Do you need to make a motion to do that?
beg your
Do
pardon?
you need a motion?
No, I think right now, it's just an open application. Yeah, just couldn't, after a while, we might say, we gotta do one thing or the other. All right, now, why you're here now is because you're in a business zone, and you have a residence, and you've modified the residence. And, board, if you need to see, there's it looks to me like they're on either side of the west end of the house, towards the village, right?
Towards like headed towards the middle.
Oh, in the front?
On the east end,
Yeah, the east side again.
That don't look to me like that.
on the new end, where the new section's built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Headed like.
Where the addition is.
Headed out of the pit angle.
Yeah.
So I got the right one. Which one? No. That's on the fence. I think that is. This is the addition right here.
this one says the barn.
You're true, but that's the fence application.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
This is space at least for a change, so, for that, spaces, there's the garage. There's the garage. Road 5 is over there.
Yeah, I was looking there. This is west, this is east. This is what they did up front, when you see the tie back here.
So this is under construction already?
Oh, they've already pretty much done it. It's, but I guess, fact is, you didn't get a building.
Right.
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 Okay, now,
Right.
to get it all sanctioned, do everything, you gotta go through this process, but they're basically,
They're going back.
you're all enclosed, you're living in it, everything, right?
Well, we're not living in it.
Oh, you're not, okay,
There's,
okay.
yeah,
But you're at that point, right? It's all enclosed.
eventually, yeah.
Okay,
It's a work in progress.
I would,
It was done.
I would suggest we probably gonna have to do a short seeker here, Counselor. And, we'll weave that into the motion, but I would just ask you not to schedule a public hearing. I don't see any reason, they have no real neighbors, right, sitting there to do that. In other words, it's really a fait accompli, it's not, you can't stop what they're doing.
You have to wait till
And we're not gonna ask them to take it down.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, you would be the lead agency for this request for special use permit for this addition as proposed. The questions are the same as the ones we asked before. I'm gonna suggest the answers are gonna be no to all of these. And the first one was, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No. Proposed act result in a change in the use, intensity use of land, it's small. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. There is no critical environmental area. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure or mass transit, biking, or walkways? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation and renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public and private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character and quality of an important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resource? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in any natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increased potential erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. We've answered no to each of those. I am going to check the box for a negative declaration, depending on the way the rest of this goes.
He's doing one here. Okay,
You're all set.
we'll weave that in. Have a motion?
This is for just the overall project, or?
No, this
Okay.
this is just for the
Just for
the
seeker.
construction, it has nothing to do with the fence or anything else.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't see any.
I think you still got it.
Yeah.
By the way, Counselor, I think you still got the short form for the.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring them up, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we can do that, we'll do all that.
Paul, did you second?
Yeah, I'll second.
So that, we got Dave and
Dave and
Paul.
Paul.
Okay, any discussion? Yeah, we're just limiting ourselves to
Yeah, just the
construction, okay? Any discussion? No, not hearing any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? You're good?
So, for basically everything, we're gonna have to come to these meetings because we're in a business zone. Like, eventually, we probably wanna put a pool in. So
No,
right-
we don't do pools, no. We, that man right there will take care of your pool.
Even though I'm in a business zone, I can just,
Do we, you think we need to do pools?
I mean, I'd rather not.
It's up to you guys.
Let's go there.
Counselor,
That's the interpretation.
that's your interpretation, you send them, we'll deal with it, yeah. We're really hard on pools.
I mean, I like visiting you guys, but it's not really.
So bring donuts.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the problem is a residence in a business zone.
Yeah.
And there just aren't that many,
Like 4 of them.
yeah, there aren't that many around. Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, but, let's give some thought to what you might wanna do. Again, we're looking for something creative, we're looking for something that doesn't look like we're isolating. The problem with it, as I stated before, if we do fences in business zones, which we do all the time for businesses, it's to shutter people on the outside from seeing what's going on the inside. On your case, it's keep people on, it's reversed, and so that this doesn't work well, okay? And that stockade just looks like, okay, we're gonna start another French and Indian War or something, and that's not what we want to do. Okay?
Alright, sounds good.
All right.
Alright, thank you.
Sure enough. Why don't you come up front here? We don't have to shout so much. Okay. Okay. Tell the board what you want to do.
We'd like to.
Mr. Schenkenberger,
Yes.
I believe is my.
Yes. We'd like to put a second dwelling on the back portion of our property. We have a few reasons why. We have a 9-year-old mother that's still living at home. But in case the time comes, the house that we live in now, it's like 13 stairs up, no matter which way we come from. Be a little tough for her. For ourselves, once we get to be older, whatever we need to do with the front one to our daughter, we'll open it, that'll work out. And then our son is having some mental issues of just, we're about 9 months into it, we're not sure, so we also want to be sure we have something in place for him.
Okay. So let me, if I'm not framing this correctly, stop me. Down on Brownell Road, they've got about 5 acres. That 5-acre lot has about 170 feet of frontage, ballpark. They have a 2-story frame house on that now. It's a 2-story house. It says 2-story.
Okay.
Story and a half, whatever it might be. And they want to build a quasi in-law type of house, a second one on property. Okay. You got a number of ways of looking at this. One, our town has no law that prohibits 2 dwellings on the same property.
That's not true.
Except
The
the
section here,
interpretation.
we talked about that the town
And-
added, yeah.
And Counselor, you might want to
And
just,
I don't want to be the one to deliver the bad news.
All right, well,
but
I can do it.
read it the way it reads. It just says, there's no provision for 2 single-family structures on 1 lot. We've never had, have you ever approved one of these before? And, it really requires a.
We never did. We've never
requires a
taken any
legislative
action on
change to it, so. Now, there's, the pathway would be for a use variance, which is incredibly difficult to get. The other
Well-
pathway would be a variance in order to allow subdivision of a 5-acre lot to support 2 single-family homes, but, that's a different process than what's here. I don't see an avenue through a
no,
special
like
use
basically
permit.
that part, that's difficult for this board. We just really can't handle it. To look at it as an in-law, we don't really have an enacted, we have one that has been proposed for a number of times, but not enacted in-law, mother-in-law type of thing that would work. But you have open to you that you could build onto your existing house and make it a 2-family. You could do that because you got plenty of space. You need in that zone, you need a 50,000 square feet. You got 5 acres. You've got the frontage of the original house. That's not going to change. And you could go with that. That requires an approval by us once we get a plan to do that. But that's about the only avenue that we see that you could kind of got 2 units here, and,
By just adding it,
pardon?
by just adding on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is something I've been talking with Larry about, the state, something with the state is trying to get something involved where you can do this. He told me a year ago that, oh, call me back in 6 months, now it's been a year, and it's.
Well, see that, I think Larry can speak for himself.
Yep.
Big man.
Yep.
But the point is, the law that he was kind of counting on is never got enacted. That's not, he has no control over that,
Okay.
okay?
What about,
But that was something we all anticipated would be done.
Right.
It's not done.
That's what he meant.
It's not done. Now, could it be done in the next calendar year? Your guess is as good as mine.
So,
what is the definition of 2 living units? Back in the days of doing appraisals, if you had what they would call an in-law apartment, you had common access between the living units, so therefore it was considered part of the original living unit and not a separate living unit. However, if you have a kitchen in there, could that be construed as being a separate living area, having separate utilities, et cetera, et cetera? So how is the town?
The problem is we have no language.
There is no language on it.
That's what we're,
The
that's.
new code, we were gonna address that, but it hasn't been adopted. But the schedule, the zoning schedule makes a permitted use in this zone is a 2-family dwelling. So to Frank's point, you could, you could add on to the house and create space for 2 families.
There might be some advantages if you think about, if you want to think about this option at all.
from the same, you're saying, be the same attached building, not 150, 200 feet behind the existing place. Wherever
You could probably, you might be able to tie in, depending on how old your initial structure is, or what, you might be able to tie into the same utilities and everything. But here's the point: if it's a mother-in-law, if it comes into mother-in-law, then it's always got to be a family-related connection.
We're talking more.
Right, absolutely. But
we're going to move right into it when this happens.
right,
so.
but that's what you have, and that's all you can have. Whereas if you did enlarge the house into a 2-family, now there'll be no demand on that condition that it'd be family. If someone down the road or the property, you divest yourself of all the property, somebody buys it, they've got a rental unit if they wanted to use it that way. They don't have to, but they certainly can, and it doesn't have to be family related or anything else. That would be a plus in doing it, besides the fact that right now it's about the only pathway that you can do it. Now, counselor, I'm not going to argue with the counselor, obviously, that as far as, and he's right, that in our law, which wasn't there all that long, if it's not in our list of thou shalt nots, what you can do, so to speak, the zoning schedule, then it was considered, if it wasn't specifically stated, it was prohibited. That statement was put into the law. But at one point, that didn't exist. And there were 2 houses put on a property. One of the things we tried to say then, because we didn't have that interpretation, was, okay, you gotta be able to subdivide. You don't have to, but you've gotta set it up so you can. People that have 2 units on a piece of property, one, not our business, but if you need a mortgage, you'll have a difficult time getting a mortgage. If you don't need one, that's fine. If you want to sell it, and you want to sell it, you're going to sell it with 2 houses on the property. That's an impediment in the housing market to do that. So we tried to say, to soften that, was you got to set it up so that you can split it. Well, you've got a frontage problem. you have enough frontage for one, you don't have enough frontage for two. Without going for some kind of a variance to try to figure out how that might work. You might be able to, but if you do, as Counselor has pointed out, as we've discussed, what are your options? It's a self-created. You've done it. You wouldn't really satisfy the conditions of a use variance. So basically, right now, today, your only option would be to probably build onto that house.
So, you're telling me all the places that I drive by and I see where people drive on back behind somebody's houses, those were all before, whatever this, every one of them.
We haven't done anything since. We never took any action. It was just kind of, it happened in the town, but it wasn't a conscious action by this board or
You
anybody
didn't
else.
approve any.
We didn't approve anything.
You formally
So
approved
now,
it.
it's not legal because of what reason? Because, because the town says, I mean, there's legal words from them, but I mean, if you were to ask surrounding neighbors where I've been for 30 years, and if they had no problems with it, I don't quite understand.
You're asking a fair question, sir, you really are. So I appreciate it. So, to look at it this way, we have this zoning schedule that says, here's a zone, one of the different zones that we have, a MR 12 or LR 40, whatever it is. Here are the itemized things you can do in that zone. And they've listed those forever. In 2014, I think it was, we added some language to our code that says, hey, everybody, if something is allowed in our code, it's allowed, but it's not even mentioned in our code, like two houses on one lot. You can't have it, that's a separate use, having two single-family homes on one lot. And that was done for, there was another case that the town had litigation with, and it got very messy, so the town decided, let's make it clear, and they added that new language to it in 2014, and that sort of cut it off there. So for now on, since 2014, you have to find the actual use in the code to be able to do it. That way nobody could come in and say, hey, I'm gonna run a meat rendering plant next to your house, because that's not in your code. If it says nothing about meat rendering, we say, okay, it's not in there, you can't have it. That's an absurd example, but just to make the point. But the path for you is doing the two-family in the one structure.
So in 2014, somebody, the town, whatever, changed language
Yes, sir.
to where it couldn't happen. Why can't somebody in the town make language where it can happen? Because I think that's just ridiculous that myself, as, I've been there for 30 years and I plan on being there for another 30 years
So this board doesn't have the power, that's the problem.
They had the power to stop it.
Not the planning
They don't have
board,
the-
not the planning board. So the town board, the legislative body, made a decision to add that language to make sure that unexpected uses didn't pop up in the town.
So how?
You could send a letter to the town board and say, I would like the town to consider allowing, I don't know, you folks wanna have an additional single-family home on a particular lot, so you'd say, I would like to have two standalone single-family homes on a lot. And you could ask for that, and then they'd have to consider it, or they wouldn't consider it.
I would do this through Larry or?
It's the town board itself. They're the legislature. They make the laws.
You're not the town
These
board.
guys work within the framework of the laws
Just the
that
planning board.
the town board creates.
Yeah.
They have very limited jurisdiction for these guys. It's either set by state law or what's in our code, and they have to have blinders on for everything, And the town board makes up the policy laws and wants to say you can do this or that.
Do you have names and numbers of who I need to contact?
Yeah, well, it's online as well. You can just go to Town of Sullivan and you'll see, it's here, the town board works out of here, so there's a clerk here and things like that.
You'll get it,
Larry's on the town
Larry can,
Yeah.
Larry, you on the
Larry
town
can
board?
give you-
Better know.
Well, okay.
He's our code enforcement guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to.
No, you're right. That's a good question, and Larry can help you walk through that process. Now,
Well,
there's no
he's been very
guarantee that
helpful.
they'll approve it. That's the question. Will the town board approve it? I don't know. They've approved some things and some things they've elected not to approve, so that's the bad.
We can't do what the law doesn't allow us to do.
So, okay.
That's basically why we've gone through all, okay, we understand what you wanna do, but we just don't have the, authority, enabling legislation, so to speak, behind us to move down that road. Okay? Now, if Larry, and if Larry was kind of hedging, maybe we would have had something a little better than what we have now, but that has not occurred. And I'm not 100% sure that would solve your problem either, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we have no language in the new proposed law
to cover that, yeah.
of a separated
Right.
entity.
Right.
Okay, they are all attached.
Yeah.
Everything is attached. Now, there's been, you can bring up the scenario that if somebody has like an unattached garage and somebody needs a caretaker for an individual in the house. They might change part of the garage, the upstairs or something, into living quarters, but they connect it with a breezeway or something of that nature, to kind of deal with that. But you are stuck with the stipulation that you are only servicing related people, and whoever the owner always has to live on the property, those things. Whereas if you just did a two-family, none of that applies. Now, if you can work through ideas with Larry, how you might creatively do, I don't know. I would, we're not here to kind of throw that out, but that is a pathway. That is a definite pathway to get a second, and without really too much hassle to that.
Right, so that if I get resistance on this from the town, there's ways of me to find out that they haven't allowed this since 2014, for someone to do the same thing that I'm asking to do. That's all. I'm just looking to take care of
These
myself.
guys would know. They've never approved it. I've never heard of it here, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But I've been to all the town board meetings, all the planning, all the zoning board meetings, and since 2013, I've been hanging around here. I haven't seen it happen.
We've never taken any action on anything like this.
The other thing
I can cover back to 2014.
Right, okay.
And there might be some towns that do allow a single lot to have two separate single-family houses on, but in my experience, I don't have a single town I represent that does do that. Okay, so, but I see duplexes and you see developments and subdivisions and where you'll have a common wall with two, or an apartment that has 4 or 5 families and stuff like that. That's a little bit different than two standalone single-family houses. The latest trend, which I know Larry knows about, is something called accessory dwelling units, which is something that we don't have here in this town. Would it come in the future? It might. And accessory dwelling units might become something in the future. And I know
that's what a year ago you said.
Oh, is that what you guys were talking about a year ago?
Yeah.
So the governor made an address to the state saying they want to encourage those things, but right now that's not the law of the land quite yet.
But
it might become one.
But her thrust is more to provide rental units.
It's low income housing.
Yeah,
it's affordable housing.
Yeah, and give you, the homeowner, if you want to do that, an income option if you want to. Yeah, if you want to. That's not quite the same as a mother-in-law or an in-law or type of thing. But that, we just don't have language is codified that we can deal with.
So you don't have the language to do anything on it, so now I go to the town board, they don't have the language.
Well, they have the power to do the language. That's what John is saying, that they want.
But then that's up to them.
That's up to them, that's not us.
They may or may not say yes, who knows? And then how big is that lot? Did you say 5 acres? So that would support, and it's on a well right now? Septic? Oh, you're on aqua water and sewer or no?
No.
Okay.
I got a septic and I
Well, you
had-
should have, there's plenty of room there
and
for
the others,
for another.
I spent
septic.
$800 for a permit
Yeah.
downstairs.
That's probably not gonna be your issue, but the issue's gonna be the code.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sorry we couldn't be more about,
Well, I didn't know, you know.
Well,
I just
yeah.
would have liked to just gone to.
well,
to
this has
them
got,
and
it's
asked
got a
them,
different wrinkle
wait
to
another
it.
month and-
Yeah, it's got a different wrinkle to it than we normally see.
Correct.
But that's about all we can do. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure enough. Okay, Jeffrey, what are we doing?
So,
Trying to stay away.
I dropped off plans earlier.
I think you're right here.
Yeah, so with the north side of the road project, this isn't the same plan, just give me an idea. We're nearing the point of at any point in time, the DEC could issue the permits for the project, the wastewater and the stormwater. Everything's submitted, they've been reviewing, we've been going back and forth. And then we're talking to Larry, and they said that we need, if I get that approval before I can start, I have to have a site permit. And he said that you guys had to approve, some kind of approval for that permit issue. My issue is, the board meeting is like, and that's why it was kind of last minute, because I had just talked to him the other day about it, is if I got the permit, say, next week, I don't wanna have to wait a whole nother month to go wait and go before you guys and have you look at the plan, when I was hoping that you could look at the plans and possibly say, yeah, they look good, pending, I obviously can't start until I get my DEC permits, but that aspect of it's out of the way, so to put me in better shape to actually start construction.
So this project has been approved subject to the conditions you approved it at, so I'm gonna look at Larry. Larry, what's changed here that requires
Well,
the
number
planning
one-
board to act again?
Number one, the plans that were approved was from 2022, which included the north and south side.
I think we had the meeting where we said just had a vote on it, I didn't necessarily agree with things.
On the
They
north side.
approved that plan, which was just the north side.
So is this plan here any different than what on
The
the north
last-
side plan that they approved the last time?
No, it's the same.
It's identical?
It's the same plan, because we separated it, and that was the last.
Correct. Now you've got, and this is part of the subdivision, because you got the north parcel.
Right, but as far as I went through them, I went based on we were going through the subdivision, they've seen all this.
I know.
It's separate projects. When they voted to approve it, it
So,
was just this project.
If he
It
wants to,
wasn't
if
Southside.
this is exactly the way it was when we approved it a couple years ago, and he's been working.
It wasn't a couple, it was
or
last.
2002 or one, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
last fall.
If it's the same thing we approved, and he's just gonna do this part now when he gets his DEC or health department approvals, could it be a phase one to his project? That's an open, I'm throwing it out there to
Right.
see.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying what the right
I mean,
answer is, I'm saying.
the original approval included a wastewater treatment plant.
But the last approval did. The
It
last
said subject
On the
to.
north side was approval of the septic system.
Right, the last vote that you guys had.
That was just on the north side of the
this
road.
midsection.
Oh.
Not the RD part.
Yeah, it was
It
separated.
was just the
right.
north side of the road.
I would say we separated around like
Right.
March of last year. So
Yeah.
all the meetings after them was just this, and the last one they approved was just.
Was for the event center, the cabins,
Right,
and the different areas. for
August
the
of
animals.
2022.
right.
Yeah.
And I dropped off the aqua letter that was requested saying it could red water.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I gave Larry and Frank.
I'm sure.
Once he's got it there.
No.
So
This is not the one, this is not the one the one we had was August.
It's the same.
Yeah, well, there's some things that are different here,
Yeah.
like
What do you got
You
here?
The top.
changed the bungalows there where you made the dead end road, or no, you
I
made
mean-
where the parking was gonna be over on along the fence line and they had to walk to the cabins, or there's not the actual road there again?
In the
Turn
back,
around.
one and a half, there's minor cosmetic things.
But we'd have to take the other plans and go through it
Right, we
1.1.
we took a road and made it a walking path instead, but didn't change any of the SWIP, didn't change any of the sewer, so it's,
This was added, wasn't it?
no.
I thought there was some kind of change. Oh, no, these are the cabins, okay.
Yeah, nothing was
All right,
added.
I thought
That was the only change was that went from a road path, because I didn't wanna cut down all these trees to put a road in. And I figured they could park there and walk down there, so it's not any crazy change. Everything else has stayed the same.
Right, the change was this path.
So that's a big change, is they took a road and turned it into a walking path.
Well, that's also, I don't have any of those plans here, so I can't.
It's the
I
same.
mean, this is the first we've seen this, so.
No, it's just that you've already seen this minus this little path.
Minus the back road.
But this isn't the same either, is it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's all the
this
same.
is the same.
Everything's the
That's
same.
what he did, is he put the animal enclosures wrong for his cabin.
This is not a fence, this is a fence.
Right.
It's not a fence now. It's a big
It's a fence.
No,
wooden
this
structure.
is fenced in area here, but these buildings were put, these buildings were here, these, what those are the cabins.
Right.
Right, there's gonna be a kennel over here, but, yeah, this was in here, but he's saying that up on the upper part there where the other, the bungalows come up and they go off right there, there's a walking path instead of having a road.
Yeah, he's got that fence there.
Right.
He's got the
This-
fence
this
there.
right here, yeah.
He's got the fence there.
Right. This, I think, might be the existing barn. This here is.
I'd have to look, I can't do it, I can't do it that way. I'd have to sit down and go through it.
Nothing.
That
happened.
This is where the change.
And the thing
Well,
is,
you
we
also
didn't even,
have-
we didn't
you
even,
also, I think,
we didn't adjust, stormwater plan, so it's even more sufficient because it's only has a walking path, but it still has it calculated for a road, so it's more than enough.
Well, didn't we have questions about the fire safety?
Well, that's right, but some of that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure,
well,
they need to have sprinklers or?
well, that's been addressed.
No. I just look at it like anybody else would, and like, usually Ed, he's pretty good about keeping that.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm able, because nothing.
This is what he changed right here. We just put a walking path in here instead of bringing the road up here.
Right, but you had a turnaround here.
Right.
Previously, yeah.
Right.
Now he's
This
just
is
got the
status.
hammerhead.
Yeah, he's got the hammerhead
That's
here.
where-
We're gonna try to get it.
It's like one
This is
pound.
good.
No, I get it.
So he's got one,
We're gonna try to get it.
Being out.
Right.
I'd say we have.
Basically, this one's
we
ready
need-
to
We
go.
need to look at that.
Right.
It's got this, I wouldn't.
They're
I wouldn't
doing
give
it.
it.
Only thing I need is site plan that they have to approve it. I don't think.
Well, I think Larry's talking about whatever we change.
Right.
Yeah, well, is the next one-
When we approved it last time,
That's-
we did actually put the dates of all.
This one here,
Well, we got
Brett?
this set, here. We got all set right here. That's the
That's
second,
right.
that's the second.
Yeah, this is condensed,
This is the old one you have?
right.
No, this is the one I just, you
Where's
just
the one
came
you-
off the
Right,
table.
this is
Right,
just
okay,
September
that's
30.
mine.
That's
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, that's just when I had them
They
print.
just
for this last-
rescaled, rescaled
Yeah,
it down.
just so I could look at it.
Yeah, I just want to
You'll have
try to
Frank
get
sign these, right?
see what you changed. Do something here.
Because you guys approved it, and then we submitted everything to EDC and that, so if all of a sudden you guys said no, then just, I wouldn't have submitted stuff to the EDC.
We didn't. Yes, your approval is based on a number of conditions that you had to fulfill in order to get.
You got the
Well,
letter?
I've gotta we'd have to dig that out and make sure that we were punching all the buttons on all that. And we're just kind of blindsided here. So I'm saying, there's nothing we can do for you tonight.
Did you give me two? Yeah.
Yeah, there's two.
And hopefully,
I mean, this
and
is
hopefully,
like
by
a ring around.
hopefully by next, well, you just can't hit us with something.
Well, Fool's Brush didn't get put through this, and I did there for the last 20 years. We don't wanna go to that, though. I'm not touching that, but I'm just saying, this was approved by you guys. One of the things that was
I
said
think we go
was you
back,
wanted
we
an
gotta
aqua,
check
can I
that.
talk? Can I finish?
Yeah.
You wanted an Aqua letter that I didn't agree with, because Aqua legally has to provide you the water. I got you the Aqua letter. That has been
Do we have
proposed
that,
to you.
Larry? Okay.
And everything else, as far as I know, has been addressed. We worked out with Bill Pindle for the fire stuff. That's all set. I mean, it's just,
Did you get anything from B&L?
I don't use B&L anymore. Or not B&L, like B&L as far as what?
We use B&L.
Yeah,
I understand. They've already reviewed this.
but did they review that change? Because about the change of the road and stuff like that.
So,
I don't know, I'm just saying.
This has been
I thought that there was an
reviewed and signed
approval that was
off
done
on.
previous to this map being printed.
So this has been reviewed, signed off on, and submitted to the DEC by the town. What was it called? The NOI was filed
That was for acceptance
for everything, and
by the town board.
so everything's into the DEC, and
No, that wasn't the question. I think you're asking about
B&L
B&L.
has reviewed this many, many times. The double
Was it
review
supposed to get a letter
process.
from B&L?
Yeah, I thought so.
The what?
We're supposed to get a letter.
We need to look at it. I can't pull that out of my sock right now.
Yeah.
I
What are
mean,
you talking about? This is all.
is there any,
new stuff. This was approved. You guys approved it
But
based on B&L reviewing it.
when was our approval? That's what that's my
The
question.
last
I thought
meeting I was at.
no, I thought that there was an approval that
There
may
were
have happened
conditions, that's
before-
what we did. We did
before
that.
these
there's been
maps
some
were-
changes here, but the question I have for you, is there any appetite to get this in tonight? Is there any appetite to have a quick special meeting on this application?
I could do that.
I've got some dates available. I don't know how much time would you guys need to look this over and just double check things. I mean, one of the things that maybe Ed would do, Jeff, would he send us a letter saying it's his professional opinion, it doesn't change? Certainly, stormwater would be
No,
what they
I get
look
where
for.
you're coming from.
Yeah.
The craziest part that I have with this is you guys want B&L to review it. My engineers already engineered it. B&L's already engineered it, re-engineered it. The DEC now, our state governing body, is reviewing everything. I can't do any of this without, this has been gonna be reviewed 15 times for me to get a permit. And it's just, I've been working on this for 2.5 years now. The state is already so restrictive as it is. They're not gonna let me, this path right here, if you say, what's it change? What's it change in your opinion? If it changes the wastewater, the stormwater, the DEC is not gonna sign off and give me a permit when their engineers review it. I mean, how many times you can review things to death? I pay for an engineer, then I have to pay for the town's engineer to review it at my dollar, my cost. There's no restrictions on what they can charge. They can charge whatever they want. They can take as long as they want. Last summer they took 8 weeks to review one thing because they have nobody that's telling them they have to review it in a time frame. It's a preposterous system, and it's before the DEC. They're reviewing everything. If the DEC makes us make a change that they want to see to get the print, we make the change. Does that mean now I have to come back to you guys and say this is the DEC change? Now I have to get this approved. You're going to say now it's got to go back to B&L. I mean, how many times do we have to go back?
So I
and
think the
forth?
board hears what you're saying,
It's
Jeff.
just-
I think you're making your points here, but on their side of it, on the other side of the table is, they're seeing it tonight for the first time. To be fair to them too, to be fair to you, you see what your
This
issues
is
are.
it. This right here is
Because
it.
I think they just want to confirm all of that,
Right.
to make sure. But what I was gonna suggest is you hold a special meeting.
We can do that. I don't have a problem.
You know, within a week's time or something,
Yeah,
or
a week, 10 days. Yeah.
whatever it is.
What's a good night? I mean,
I'm out of town. So
Can you send somebody to the meeting? Have that come or whatever. you know.
well, I'd like to be able to.
Be there.
Yeah.
A representative maybe from your family or from
Well,
your business.
I'm only going this till the 18th, so like the week of the 20th.
You're back or you're,
I'm back after that. The 18th I get back
when do you leave?
tomorrow.
Oh. All right, so 18th, you're back on the 18th? Okay, so that's the week of the 20th. I've got some holes there. I can swing over. But
you're more of the, we're
Yeah.
more flexible.
Yeah.
I'm
What do you got?
only good the 20th, because I'm going out of town the 21st.
Well, we'd have to have 3 members.
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
John should be back by then.
Yeah, John will be back.
But what I'm suggesting is that this way the board can look at
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah,
stuff and
yeah, just give us a
decide
chance
whether
to
you
take a look
need
and figure
B&L
this
to
out.
take a look at. You can compare whatever. And then if Ed
I'm not
wants
paying
to
me
make,
another time.
no, I'm just saying they have to make a decision,
I
that'll be
just
up to
roofed it,
them.
I mean, I was.
But maybe Ed could get us, Ed could call somebody and say, yes, this is exactly what Jeff has said, there's very little changes here. None that'll affect the.
Oh, I
stormwater.
got a double
I mean, it's not
check
like
on
I'm
it.
building a house in a wetland.
Yeah, I think they hear you, I think they just want,
Well,
just
I mean,
because it's
that was
the
allowed
same
in
night,
this
that's
town.
all.
And I get.
Alright, so we're looking at something after the 20th,
It's
after the
It's
20th,
insane.
including the 20th or after the 20th?
So I can do, let's.
What is the day, what day of the week is 20th?
The 20th
It's
is
a
a
Monday,
Monday.
it's a Monday, so,
Okay.
let's see, I've got,
You are available on the 20th.
I'll make myself available. I mean, this is,
Okay,
because if the DEC.
because
gives
we
me
gotta
permits, I
check
don't
and
want-
see. Josh
I can't do
Sarasoli
it.
is
I mean,
in
this
Florida.
insane. I'll stand by the fact.
If
Well,
he-
I'll do whatever.
And the
This
rest,
is
are you guys
absolutely
here,
ridiculous.
over here?
can we do a
Are you-
tentatively
are you
set
good?
it for the
I'm
20th?
good.
This is beyond ridiculous. I want my point on record or whatever. This is ridiculous.
So I think
Okay.
they're gonna work something
This is
out
a
for you, Jeff. I
tyranny.
think we're gonna get to a point where you'll.
No, I understand that, but this is, at a certain point, we gotta start working for people that are trying to improve our town. and
Point
not
taken,
put
Jeff.
people in.
You just dropped in here tonight and you're expecting us.
I actually stopped yesterday.
But it's,
and
but
I
the
talked
point,
to
the
him, I
point
said-
being,
I
is
asked, could I
that
come
we're
to
just
the meeting?
looking at this for
I
the
asked
first
if I
time
could
and then
come
you're
to
giving us a new.
I get
thing to
asked, I
ride
get
at.
told at the beginning of the meeting, I'm not sure why you're here, Jeff. When I'm blindsided, I came and I mentioned to Larry, I mentioned to Jerry, very nicely.
But-
Larry and I
but
have
the
been
way
working
our-
great together.
way we-
I'm talking, all right?
Oh,
And
you
I
cut
said,
me off.
And I said, Jerry, can I get put on the agenda? Can you let them know? She said yes. So in front of everybody, you humiliate me, which you try to do all the time. You're not better than me, so you just need to understand that. You say, I'm not sure why you're here. So is it my fault?
Jeff,
you
you're
don't-
not on the agenda, period.
Okay,
You
well
weren't on
then
the
maybe
agenda. We're
maybe
giving
they
you
should
the
have told me that,
courtesy, we're
Frank.
giving you the courtesy.
Maybe they
that-
should have told me that, but to humiliate me in front of
Okay,
people, not
well,
sure why
I
you're
can't-
here,
I can't
Jeff.
help that.
Maybe
Jeff.
you should think about how you address people. You always talk down to me. Remember, I get you don't like me. I don't care.
Well, then
I'm
you
trying
gotta
to do
get
something
taller,
good for
Jeff.
this town.
You gotta get tall.
I gotta get taller? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, listen,
Yeah, that's a good
here's where I
insult,
think-
Frank.
let me
I'm
get-
trying to make a living. I didn't even hear
Let
that.
me give everybody some good news, which is I think we're finding the
Smile.
other part of that week to get this done. Jeff, I think we're gonna find a good spot for you on the 20th. And I think we'll get this done. So why don't we?
Is that in the minutes where he said something about me getting taller? please?
Why don't we do this? Why don't you wanna tentatively schedule the 20th? We'll
We
do
can't
that.
be here, we just gotta, I think we're
Well, what
good.
we can confirm it,
We
yeah.
got three, and
Three
the only
people.
one, and the only
I
one
could-
that
I could
Anthony
be here.
wanted is
What
us.
time can you guys do this? Cause what I can do is I have another meeting, but I'm willing to come a lot earlier here, and then I go to my second meeting if we have to.
Sure, well, I mean,
Say
it's
5
a
o'clock or
it's a
something
one
like that?
item agenda.
What's
When are
good for
back?
you?
You're back
John?
the 19th?
I'm back to, yeah, the 19th.
What works?
What's good for you, John?
I mean, I can do it, it's 5 o'clock, okay?
Whatever you-
On that
honestly,
We can
Monday?
do that.
Whatever works with your schedule.
Yeah,
But
5
you
o'clock,
can
I would
wait
say
till we're
5
both- I
o'clock,
appreciate that.
I would say let's try 5 o'clock on Monday, it gives the board a chance to look at the documents. I can give Ed a quick call, 5 PM, Monday, the 20th, and Rose will have to get a special notice out for a special meeting. This is our agenda item, and I would have it say to hear this application plus whatever business comes before the board, that sort of thing.
5 o'clock?
Let's see where it goes. What's
5
that?
o'clock.
5 o'clock on the 20th.
And I would
That'll
say
work.
we could look at it like a phase one, because it's all approved.
I'm
The
good
changes
with
need
that.
to be stamped by the board, looked at, approved by the board, and we can try to push this thing through.
Yep,
See if I can grow an inch or two by then.
okay.
I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple.
That's sweet. It's genetics. I can't help that.
All right, I'll talk to
You
Ed.
talk to Ed,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sure it'll get me all straightened out.
All right, appreciate it.
Any other business?
I am not right home with you.
I haven't had dinner yet.
Do we have anything else that we need to deal with?
No.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?